Francisco, Vermont, or New York. But on the spur of the moment, with the travel editor on the line, my destination had suddenly become Paris. After all, I spit out, a new wave of French artisan bakers had rescued bread, that national cultural symbol, from years of neglect, bringing back truly great loaves. So yes, maybe 10 days in Paris would do it. Could I line this up in a couple of weeks and go soon after that? Maybe get the article in on time for their premiere issue? Sure, I replied, knowing not one baker in Paris. 3 weeks later, early in 2009, I was on a jet to Charles de Gaulle Airport, surrounded by rows and rows of empty seats. I felt like I'd scored the ideal gig. But it also felt odd because I had rarely conflated my bread baking hobby with work. Making bread was that special moment of the day when I could take my hands off the keyboard, stand up from my chair and go downstairs to the kitchen and play with flour, water, sourdough, and salt. Instead of wasting time surfing the internet on breaks, I would rummage through a cabinet filled with wheat, rye, and spelt flours, gathering sesame seeds and flax seeds, and tending to my sourdough starter. In this way, baking was the antithesis of writing, my version of chopping wood, crucial to maintaining my sanity amid the daily pressures of work. And that's the way I wanted it. Cordoned off from writing, baking offered a brief reprieve, and for many years, I sought to keep it that way. But now, faced with a crisis and the need to generate work, any work, I had become pragmatic. This baguette excursion was the rationale to go deeper into bread and get paid at the same time. But I also knew that for a home baker, the exercise wouldn't be easy. Even if I did learn to master a baguette in a boulangerie, I would need to translate the technique to my home kitchen. I wouldn't achieve a great baguette in a day or even a week. I knew because I had tried many times and finally given up, convinced that a decent baguette couldn't be made at home. But standing next to a baker, and one in Paris no less, maybe I could learn that one tip or technique that would fundamentally alter what I did. If so, if I really got that kind of aha moment, the entire trip would be worth it. So the baguette became many things: a story, an unexpected source of income, and a challenge, for this bread had defeated me. But it also became something else, a template that I would later repeat with professional bakers in the United States and Europe, applying the same hands-on approach to bread-making problems I so often encountered at home. I thought this work would bring me much closer to the perfect loaf, but what I didn't appreciate was how this quest would fundamentally alter the way I viewed bakers, grains, and this basic sustenance, bread. Bread was always a part of my life, even if I didn't get interested in bread making until well into adult life. I never recall a time growing up in Brooklyn when we didn't have bread on the table. To be honest, there was usually bread and rice, representing the two cultural poles of my upbringing. My father, who came from a family of Russian Jewish immigrants, liked bread with every meal. My mother, who is Japanese American, usually had a pot of rice on the stove. This rich, personal relationship with starches, from Japanese short-grain rice to Russian black bread, has become part of my identity. My dad's family had emigrated from Kiev in Ukraine at the turn of the 20th century, but the links to our Russian heritage were indirect, for I don't remember eating anything in particular with my grandparents. There was no quintessential Nana food, no memorable dishes, no homemade loaves. Instead, the Jewish foods associated with New York, knishes, blintzes, pastrami, matzo ball soup, smoked fish, pickles, and, yes, bread, figured as prominently for me as they did for many New Yorkers, whether you were Jewish, Chinese, or Puerto Rican. Sometimes we got pumpernickel, or a seeded rye at a Jewish bakery on Church Avenue in Brooklyn, or Levy's Jewish rye, which I liked toasted. "Where's the Brot?" my dad would ask at dinner, using the Yiddish word for bread. On Sundays, we often had fist-sized bagels with cream cheese and Nova Scotia lox, or smoked whitefish, which we picked up on.